Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to discuss 27 tips for your listening, IELTS, academic and GT exam. I will divide my discussion into 3 sections, the before, during and after the exam. So please watch the full video. The first tip is to familiarize yourself with the different sections. And just so you know, they will give you 40 questions and they will divide these 40 questions into 4 sections. First is a social dialogue wherein 2 speakers were talking about everyday situation, like in a phone conversation about inquiries like booking a restaurant, hotel, and job inquiries. Second is social monologue. One speaker is talking about an everyday situation like tour guide, event, a new building, talking about a charity or an organization. Third is the academic dialogue. This is quite harder than the first 2 because you will hear 3 to 4 speakers and you should be able to recognize who is talking. Lastly, another academic but with 1 speaker. This speaker will give a lecture of a topic on different forms like completing forms and tablets, leveling maps, fill in the blanks, and so on. Second tip is to familiarize yourself with different types of questions. You can obviously achieve this by answering some practice tests online or on YouTube. So the different types of questions are as follows. As mentioned in my introduction, the best way to really be successful in passing the IELTS exam is to answer practice tests as many as possible. So you'll be familiar with the structure and how they will test your English listening skills. Now there are plenty of test practice on YouTube and you can go ahead and choose one. The fourth tip is to familiarize yourself with the different accents. It could be Australian, British English, so you can do this by looking for practice tests with the speakers with those types of accents. Know that the success of the whole exam result will depend on your vigilance to follow instructions. So read instruction very carefully, and they might give you tricky questions, so make it a habit in your practice test to encircle the keywords in your instruction, what to do. For example, instruction says answers will be no more than 2 words and slash or a number. So the possible answers could be a driver, so that's 1 word, Uber drivers, 2 words, 2020, 1 number, 2, 1 number, May 11, a number and a word, so it could be a combination. Related to the previous steps about following instruction, bear in mind that all words and numbers are counted. So a gift will be 2 words, or 1988 is 1 number. Tip number 7 is about tricky questions. Now be careful for deceiving answers because at some point they could change the answer. For example, in the recording you will hear, "I'll see you at Woodbine Station." Then after 1 minute, one speaker will say, "I'm closer to Coxwell Station. Can we meet there instead?" Another way that they will try to trick you guys is by challenging your reading comprehension. So read the instruction very carefully. If it's multiple choice, it will tell you to write a letter or a word, so be mindful of that. Tip number 9, write exact words. Write exactly what you heard and recording. For example, parents should teach responsibility by giving their children an everyday chore. Question: Parents should teach responsibility by giving A, daily chore, or B, an everyday chore. This is simple, you guys. The answer should be B, an everyday chore, because that's exactly the words from the recording. Tip number 10, answer should be grammatically correct. Whether to put a preposition to the answer or not will depend on the question. It's your obligation to make it grammatically correct. Tip number 11, spell words correctly. Wrong words will be counted as wrong, so remember that. So please have a dictionary in your hand when test practicing. Tip number 12, master your grammar and prepositions. Prepositions like in, at, an, or sometimes you don't have to put any preposition. For example, at, sometimes we're talking about time, so it could be part of the week or part of the day, or it could be a place. For in, it will be a period of time like days, hours, week, or month, year, season. For on, it's either a day or a date. And for no preposition, these are instances where you're talking about immediate event. It could be tomorrow, the next day, or any period of time, this morning, afternoon, or a person. Tip number 13 is to assume that you're taking the exam. So whenever you're practice testing, imagine that you're really taking the exam itself. You can use the questionnaire. I'll put the link below where you can find the PDF. You can make Xerox copies and put your practice test answers in it. So you will be familiar with the feeling of really transferring the answers to your answer sheets. Tip number 14, 40 minutes rule. During the exam, you will have 30 minutes to listen to the audio and 10 minutes to transfer answers to answer sheets. So when you practice this, try to time yourself while answering the 40 questions. Tip number 15, free time. Consider this as freebie when you hear the sentence, you now have time to read questions 1 to 5. At this point, prepare the questions. For example, Jesus Christ was born on blank. So the answer should be a date, obviously. Tip number 16, plurals. Watch out for plurals. Listen carefully if the speaker spoke the word with an S or not. Remember, if you miss this, it will be wrong because remember the rule of grammar. It will always be our obligation to make the sentence grammatically correct. We are now finally going to tackle about the during the exam section of the video. So tip number 17 is to listen very carefully. Audio will not be played again. It will only be played once. So listen carefully, okay? Tip number 18, headphone test. Check, listen to the headphone if it's working on both ears, and if not, ask the proctor to change your headphone. Don't be shy. Tip number 20, time management. Time management should be established by now if you're diligent with practice testing. Listening skills will not only test your listening but also reading and writing skills. So remember Okay, thank you guys. If this blog helped you in any way, please don't forget to share to anyone who's going to have the IELTS exam, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much, and good luck to your exams.